It's now time for What's Up Asheville, sponsored by the City of Asheville, with the host, Mr. Sam Parada, and here he is.
Hey Asheville, what's up? I'm Sam Parada, communication specialist with the city, and you're listening to What's Up Asheville here on WRES 100.7 FM. Can you hear me, James?
No, but I'm okay.
Hear you.
We can keep going, Sam.
Let's do it. So James Shelton, you know him, you love him. He's been in the show a couple of times. CDBG-DR, which stands for community. Oh my God. What does it stand for, James?
Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery. You got it, Sam.
There you go. So, James Shelton, manager for the Community Development Division of the city, and Elma King, a new guest. How are you, Elma?
Happy to be here, Sam. Thank you.
Elma is the manager for anything CDBG-DR related, so she'll be working very hard. You've been working very hard since you joined, 2 months ago now?
That's right, Sam. It's been 2 months now.
Feels like an eternity, doesn't it?
It's been a great 2 months.
It's a lot of work, but
yes,
it's been great working with you. So tell me a little bit more about you, your background, and what it is that you do with the city right now.
Happy to, Sam. Well, as you mentioned, I joined about 2 months ago. I come with a background in international development. And so this is a bit of a different world, the world of disaster recovery. But it's been great, and the city's been extremely welcoming, and it's been awesome to see how fast things are getting off the ground. I know the community is very, very eager to see the programs up and running. And I know that in the background, we are working very, very hard to make that a reality.
Yeah, and you mentioned that we're working very, very fast. I know that sometimes to the community it can look like it's not. There's reasons for that we'll touch upon. But let's go back a little bit and talk about CDBG-DR. If we can do a quick recap on what it is and what it means. James, you've done this a few times. I know you say this in your sleep all the time, so why don't you give us a shot?
Yeah, so after Helene, Congress allocated $225 million in this funding to the city of Asheville on top of the $1.4 billion in CDBG-DR funds that are going to the state of North Carolina. City of Asheville, we participate in the CDBG program. We get about $1 million in that program every year. And we make investments into low-income neighborhoods to do neighborhood improvements, but we also support organizations that support low-income residents to do housing services, micro-enterprise development. So back in the spring, we underwent an extensive action planning process that I came and talked to you about that back in the spring, where we heard from our community, and that's where we came up with our allocations for this program of how that $225 million will be split up for housing, infrastructure, economic revitalization. And we're now at the point where we're actually implementing those programs. But before we could actually implement them, we had this, broad stroke action plan that said, this is what we intend to do. But in the meantime, we've been writing and drafting our program manuals and policies and procedures. And I know you probably have some questions about that, Sam, but those are kind of like the governing documents that say how we'll go about doing the things that we'll do, not necessarily what we'll do, but it's how we're going to implement those programs and how we're going to keep in line with federal law and requirements.
Yeah, because I think that's the most important piece. If we don't follow the rules and regulations, we don't get money, pretty much. So speaking of the program manuals, we already posted a few, Elma, so what do you tell us about those?
Thank you, Sam. We've posted the infrastructure program manual, the planning program manual, the small business support program manual, and the single family home repair program manual. We have 3 more coming up. Three? Mm-hmm. 3 more coming up. And then in addition to those, we've posted all of our federal cross-cutting policies and procedures, all of our grant administration policies and procedures. So a lot of things need to get in line for us to be able to get these programs off the ground. And we're very excited about those that have been posted already. And folks can get online, go to ashevillerecovers.org, click on that documents link, and then see all of these and get more details about what we'll be doing and how we'll be doing it.
Yeah.
And then in some cases, additional information will be available in solicitations as well that are coming up. So it's an exciting time. We're designing and we're doing, and so.
Yeah, we're doing a lot. And it's a lot of reading too. So if you're having issues sleeping at night, you just open up our website and start reading them because they're very long. So the program manuals will explain how the funds will be released and spent. And so right now we're working on a very specific program, which is the Small Business Support Program. So tell me about that one.
That's right. Well, I want to back up a little bit. So James
Sure.
mentioned the action plan. And so that's really like our umbrella document that dictates very high level what we'll be doing under the CDBG-DR program. And then those program manuals become a little bit more specific. And then in the case of the Small Business Support Program, we'll be releasing a Notice of Funding Opportunity this week, which will detail even further what we'll be seeking in the community by way of subrecipient services for implementing that program, and it will be even more detailed than the action plan or the program manual. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of see this nested layering of the documents that gives folks an umbrella and then within it additional details. So that Notice of Funding Opportunities will be available very soon, dictating more of what will be done. The city is not going to be administering this Small Business Support Program directly. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sam. Yep. We won't be administering it directly, but we'll be administering it through subrecipient programs. So through CDFIs, community development
I don't know what that
institutions.
means.
Yeah.
But it's important.
Or any other interested parties. And maybe, James, you can speak to the eligible entities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so community development finance institutions, those are organizations that typically act like banks. They can provide loans, business coaching, grants. So there's several of those in our community that are highly experienced in doing this kind of work. But we're going to go through a competitive selection process via this Notice of Financial Opportunity to get proposals from those organizations to be able to make an informed and competitive decision about which organization we'll be partnering with. So we're super excited to kick that process off. Once we have a subrecipient selected, we anticipate having that done in January. They will then start their implementation phase of getting the funding that we allocate to them into the community. The city of Asheville is good at doing a lot of things, but like doing a business grant program is not something we've ever done before, but there are organizations that are really good at this, and we want to partner with those folks that have capacity and expertise to do this on our behalf.
It's also a lot of money, so it's not something that we can just simply start doing immediately. So I want to take a big step back because we're talking a lot about the process and all the parties involved. I just want to be more detailed on who's who. So we're talking about subrecipients. I think we should touch upon businesses and people who will be actually benefiting from the money. What do you call those?
Those are what we call beneficiaries. So in our program manuals and in the NOFO, you'll see the mention of like subrecipients. Those are our partner organizations that City of Asheville will partner with. And the end beneficiary will be businesses and their employees who in the end receive grant funding. So, as I mentioned, this program, the whole character of it is to overall 70% of our funds must benefit low to moderate income residents. That's a key pillar of this program. And that's a federal requirement. I honestly think it's a great way to structure a program because you're making sure that the folks in your community who are most unable to respond and adapt to natural disasters see a directed response. I think it's a really great way to do a program. But for businesses, those look like small businesses, so not big businesses, which those are very broad stroke words. So we are going to lean into the Small Business Administration's definition of what a small business is. So they can go online to SBA.gov and be able to see if, based upon the industry that the business is in, and then their revenue or their employee size will help them determine whether they qualify as a small business underneath the Small Business Administration.
So backing up a little bit again, the process for the CDBG-DR money to start going out, first you're going to be reaching out to the subrecipients who will help disperse the money. So you said that you're expecting for a small business program one for money to be dispersed around January.
We expect to make selections for a subrecipient in January,
Thank you
and
for
then
that catch.
Yep, and then you're right, Sam, that thinking from the perspective of a small business, a beneficiary, the question is, when will I be able to apply for this money?
That is the $1 million question.
Yes, and so we expect that that subrecipient or subrecipients selected would need some time to get their manuals off the ground, get set up with their processes, and then in the spring, early summer, have those opportunities available for small businesses to apply to. And we do have additional information going up on our website around resources for potential subrecipients and resources for potential beneficiaries that folks can refer to. But that spring-summer timeline is when small businesses can look to.
That's great, because we've been waiting a long time.
Yes.
So it's good to see that things are taking shape. This is the first program that is going to be pretty much greenlit. So congratulations. It's been a long year, but we're here.
Well, I got to interrupt you there a little bit, Sam.
Yeah.
Is that it's one of the first programs.
True.
Is we do have our single family home repair program that's rolling out, and we're super excited to partner with the state of North Carolina's Renew NC program. So a little not so shameless plug for renewnc.org is where Asheville homeowners can go and apply to get their Helene damaged home repaired or fully rebuilt. So renewnc.org is a great place for folks to go and learn more information. Whether you live in Asheville or anywhere in Western North Carolina, you can go to renewnc.org. And
One more time.
renewnc.org.
Thank you. Also, all that information is found on our recovery website at ashevillerecovers.org. So, there's a lot of information out there. It's going to be rolling. We are currently today, October 29, working on, because it's going to be replayed, so you want to make sure that if you're listening to it at a later time, October 31st will be the day that we're expecting for the small business program to take off, and the NOFA will go out for subrecipients to apply. But we are going to redo the website. It's going to be easier to find what the programs are, how much money is allocated to them, and hopefully give you an idea of a timeline on when you can expect to see more progress being done, because it takes time. There's a lot of programs, so we're working on that. And all of them should have information on what applies for you to receive assistance or not, and as well for the subrecipients. There's a lot going on. And Elma, you're one person, and James, you're one person. So how can you guys tackle all of this throughout the next 5 years that things are going? This is going to take a long time.
Yeah, I'll speak to this first, and then I'll want to hear from you about the hiring process that we're going on to bring on additional capacity. And you're right, Sam. We're just two people, but we do have a lot of really great folks in our community and economic development department that have helped us, pick up a lot of the work. You've been great to work with as well. The whole CAPE team has been a part of this, but we at the city also know that we need additional capacity and expertise. So we've had, contracted help since the beginning of the storm, helping us to get ready for this CDBG-DR grant. We also have contracted services that are on board right now with an additional vendor who is helping us to roll these programs out. So we've got people who've been doing disaster recovery for decades, experts
Yes.
who are working behind the scenes with us to roll these programs out. So we're super excited to have our partners helping us do this. And it's kind of like what I said when we did the action planning process and we got our action plan done and approved, is that was one of the most collaborative efforts I've ever been involved in, and that continues to be true now, is that none of us can do any of this by ourselves, and we're not naive enough to say that like we can do it alone. It's impossible. So Elma, do you want to talk a little bit about our hiring that we're doing right now too?
Yep, I would. And I also want to add too that we've had a lot of involvement too from the city manager's office, our recovery lead, as well as the recovery support groups that were stood up right after the storm, that were very involved and supportive as the program was being designed through the action planning phase and then through standing things up now, and making sure program manuals are reflective of city processes and priorities in addition to reflective of what the city needs now in response to the storm. One more thing before jumping into the hiring. I know that the recovery boards that were just announced yesterday at the council meeting will also be critical in that we'll be utilizing those for informing the public and advocacy for what we're doing and making sure we're getting the word out, particularly for the small business support program, for example, making sure that potential subrecipients are hearing about it. We can post on our social media and we can post on our website, but making sure that we're spreading the word in additional ways is critical, and that'll be the case for our other programs as well. In terms of hiring, as James teed up, we are hiring to expand our CDBG-DR team as well. So even though the Community and Economic Development Department has been hard at work and pitch hitting a great deal to make sure that the DR program is stood up and managed appropriately, we'll be hiring 3 additional CDBG-DR programs leads to join our team. One that would focus on infrastructure and planning, one focused on housing, and then another focused on our economic revitalization programs. That recruit is still open through November 4th, so if anyone is interested, I invite you to apply. And we'll be conducting interviews on a rolling basis. We have been doing so already, and we've seen some interesting interest, which we're grateful for, but would love to see additional foot traffic.
Yeah, especially now that the programs will be rolling,
Yes.
having that assistance or having someone focused entirely on each of the programs themselves is going to be super helpful, both internally and externally.
You referenced that handling the funds correctly and ensuring compliance with federal regulations is of utmost importance to ensuring that we can actually receive these funds.
Yes.
And those 3 individuals will be at the forefront of that, of making sure we're managing and monitoring the spend in a way that is compliant with federal regulations. It may not be the most exciting part of the recovery process, but it is extremely important. And then the exciting pieces of it are seeing the effects of what these programs will be doing.
It's going to be very involved. I mean, I'm tangentially involved with everything that you're doing.
You're the heart of the team, Sam. I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
He's very involved with what we're doing and communicating it out.
I go up to your office like every single day
Yes.
just to see what's going on. So I can only imagine what a refreshing breath of air is going to be to have someone that you can just have them focus on something and you can just take, not necessarily step back, but oversee with more control, I guess, more time for yourself to really focus on what you need to.
Well, already we say that James and I can often divvy up our time, so it's kind of like we can be in 2 places at once because one of us can take one meeting while the other. So this will mean we can quadruple our time.
Pretty much. So that's happening now. Hopefully by November, end of November is when you're expecting to have people onboarded, and then from then we'll just continue carrying out the programs. So yeah, congrats on that. Good luck.
Thank you.
And to all of us. So small business. What do I need to do as a sub-recipient? Like if you're hearing this right now, and you have a business that can allocate money, what do you need to apply and be a subrecipient?
I can take a little bit of that. So there's definitely a level of experience that we're looking for with potential subrecipients. We're talking about multi-million dollars being distributed from us to another organization that then needs to pass on to small businesses. So there's a level of capacity that we expect. There's a level of experience managing federal funds that we expect, and running an application cycle, doing eligibility reviews of the business and determining how many employees they have and what's eligible. There are many organizations, I think, that want to participate in this. We encourage all to come and submit proposals for how they would intend to run a program, and we're excited to hear that. So for those organizations that are looking to participate and be one of our partners, is to have a strong proposal about how you're going to administer the funds, get them to businesses, make sure that it's meeting those federal requirements around LMI, low to moderate income workers.
Yeah, because you're not just handing them a check.
No.
And it's not a, here you go, do the thing. Like, there's going to be a lot of checking and making sure that the money's being spent the way it's supposed to be. That's why we needed managers, so they can keep up with that stuff too, because it's going to become very busy, especially the more subrecipients you get.
Yeah.
Please keep going.
Well, I mean, hopefully the intent is not to distribute the money to a whole lot of subrecipients. We definitely want to do a few that can have partnerships where they're working with other organizations to leverage outreach, leverage intake. Hopefully our intent is not to award, 17 $1 million awards. It's certainly much more concise than that.
Mm-hmm. And then for a small business who wants to benefit from this, are there any requirements that you need to meet in order to apply for financial assistance?
You want that one? Or I got that. So first thing was, like I mentioned, with the SBA.gov. So getting qualified as an SBA small business is like first step. And then we also have to look at, from the CDBG-DR perspective, we have to tie back to Tropical Storm Helene. These aren't Helene recovery dollars. So in order to be an eligible small business, you need to demonstrate that your business was somehow impacted, either physically or indirectly, economically. So one of the things that we're going to be looking at are, the profit and loss statements from the past couple of years. If you actually did get damaged by Helene physically, then that's certainly something that is going to put you in that box of being eligible. They're also going to need to register on sam.gov as an entity. So sam.gov is the federal government's it's not samparada.gov. I wish there was. Listen, if there's not a samparada.gov, there should be. We can make one. We'll make it happen.
So sam.gov.
Yeah, sam.gov
Okay.
is where businesses can and should go to get registered and get what's called a UEI. It's a unique entity identifier, I believe is what that stands for.
Mm-hmm.
Basically what that is it's the federal government's way of ensuring that if you receive federal funds, you didn't be stupid about it. No, I'm serious. Like, it's the federal government's way of ensuring that any federal funds that go to any entity, including the city of Asheville, you didn't misuse it, you didn't misappropriate it, you actually used it for the purpose that it was intended, and if you got audited or inspected by the feds, nothing came back, and you're a good
transparency.
You're a good participant. And in order to be a recipient of any federal funds, either as a grantee or a subrecipient or the final beneficiary, you got to be able to demonstrate that you don't have a history. And sam.gov is where you can see like who's been debarred. You can go on there right now and see like who else debarred from participating in federal programs. It's a fun list.
I'll be checking that out later. But I think you bring a really, really important point, which is just because the process is not yet at a point where small businesses can apply for money doesn't mean you should just be sitting down doing nothing in the meantime. There's a few things that you can be doing so that when the application process opens, you can just be like, got it all done. Here's my application, everything's set. And if there's any more tips that you can give to anyone, I think this is a really good time. And I know one of those is no double dipping. So make sure you went through insurance, FEMA money. What else?
Yeah, or any other grant programs. So like what part of the application process that businesses will have to go through is, what do you qualify as a small business? Do you have a UEI from sam.gov? You have your profit and loss statements from the last few years. You have, what your insurance company done for you? What did you get from the Small Business Administration, like their disaster loan program? Have you gotten any other recovery loans? And then looking at that recovery portfolio, I guess you could call it, like all the recovery resources that have come from not FEMA, but Small Business Administration, insurance, any other grants, and then looking at the total loss that they've experienced, either physically or economically. If there's a remaining gap there, that's where this program has a place. So that's where we're going to be excited to work with small businesses to help get them back to where they were.
Yeah,
Did I miss anything?
There are 2 more that they can register for, and I'm looking at a cheat sheet. So James just went off the top of his head, but I'm looking at a cheat sheet here, and there are 2 more: the CAGE code registration, the commercial and government entity CAGE code. So if your business does not already have a CAGE code, you can register for one. And there's also the North American Industry Classification System, the NAICS code, where you basically classify what type of category of business you have, and you can register for that as well. So those are some things that businesses can do to get their ducks in a row, in addition to what James mentioned off the top of his head,
and they can get those
NAICS grant ready.
They can get the NAICS codes from SBA.gov, so that's where they can go to do that. One last thing I would say is, like, all this ties back to jobs. That's our overall, like, performance outcome measure. When HUD says, what'd you do with the money? That's the answer. Really, in the end, is like how many jobs were created or retained as a result of the investments that we make. So businesses can start, I'm sure they do this with their payroll, but that's one thing that they're going to be able to have to provide is who all's on your payroll, and then who's eligible in terms of that low to moderate income category, so that we can qualify all the employees, or at least some, or any number of them, as meeting that national objective of low to moderate income job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And all of that is going to be, like circling back with HUD is going to be done for all the programs, but with different categories, I imagine. That sounds great. So, if you own a small business, or someone who was impacted and could use assistance, I would recommend going back on YouTube. We post this little podcast on YouTube on our City of Asheville channel, because that was a lot of information. So maybe you want to go back and stop, take notes, and just get started. See what you can do, see what you need, and hopefully by January, spring of 2026, you can go ahead and get an application, get assistance if you are eligible.
Well, and if you don't want to watch the whole YouTube recording, you can also refer to our cheat sheet, our one-pager, which I was referring to myself, which Sam just uploaded to our website today, so thank you so much for that, Sam, which gives you an idea of what small businesses can do in a sort of like easy framework as well.
Yeah, and the website right now, as we're developing it, is very bare bones. There are a lot of documents in the documents section, but each of the programs will have their own page, and all of that information will be there. So keep checking in, make sure that you're following along. There's a lot of changes that will happen. Right now we have an amendment to the action plan that's open for public comment. If you go to our website, you'll see it. If you go to the engagement hub, you can leave a comment. You can email it to CDBG-DR@asheville.nc.gov. You can drop it off in person, mail it. There's a lot of ways that you can get in touch with us. We read them. There has not been a comment yet that applies to
Somebody give us a comment. Somebody out there.
Yeah, somebody give us a comment, but it was not related to the amendment. But if it is, we'll post it with the amended action plan.
Well, James recapped during the council meeting yesterday what that amendment captures. Maybe we should touch on that here.
Real quick, because we're running out of time.
Oh, we're running out of time.
You can go to Asheville recovers.org and see it. But we're making sure that our home repair program aligns with the state's program. Our public services program, we're going to make sure that our threshold is lowered for minimum awards so we can do a lot of great things with less money.
And that's
the
also
crux of it.
summarized too on the website.
Yeah.
You make sure you go to this page because it's a lot of pages for the action plan. So leave a comment. That's how the action plan was made. With all your help, we got a bunch of comments for that one. James has to read through all.
We got more comments than the state did on their action plan, and I will never let that feather out of my cap.
We have a super engaged community.
We do. Yes, we do. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sure we'll be meeting again.
You've been listening to What's Up Asheville, sponsored by the City of Asheville in collaboration with WRS 100.7 FM. This program will re-air every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12:30. Thank you for listening.